Hi Sudhanshu, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for being here today. I'm representing University College London, that is UCL, which is one of the top universities in the world. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Sudhanshu's background, then what it's like to study at UCL. We're going to look at his course, his timetable, and more. So if you want to study here or at any other university in the UK, I have conducted a lot of interviews from students all over the country. So make sure you check them out. And without further ado, let's get into this video. So hi Sudhanshu, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Hello, Devyani. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So can I please ask you to formally introduce yourself, your name, which course are you studying, and again at which university?
So, about my background, I have done my high school from New Delhi, and I did it in the science stream. So, I wanted to become an engineer, so I had PCM, of course. And after my high school, I did my bachelor's in technology in electronics and electrical engineering from Vellore Institute of Technology.
Mm-hmm.
So during these 4 years of my bachelor's, I worked in a lot of committees which were in event management. So basically, we had two fests, Gravitas and Rivera. Gravitas being the technical fest of VIT, and Rivera being the cultural fest. So I worked in like fest organizing committees throughout the 4 years, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how my mind shifted from, let's say, working in technical background to working in the managerial domain. And
Okay.
that's how my interest shifted, and I wanted to pursue my career in managerial domain, and that's
Okay.
why I decided to do my master's in management from UCL.
So when it comes to management degrees, so in India, MBA is a very big option which people explore. There's management in UK, in USA. So what made you choose doing management in UK itself other than other options?
Yes. So for me, I wanted career growth opportunities abroad.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, I didn't want to do MBA in India.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I gave CAT, I didn't really want to pursue MBA in India, and I wanted to pursue masters abroad.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fixed from the very beginning that, of course, I want to do abroad. And there were two options, USA and UK.
Mm-hmm.
UK and Europe, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
So USA, I felt that it was more catering towards the technical subjects. So let's say computer science, data science, IT, and all these subjects. And UK and Europe in particular, they were more focusing on, let's say, managerial subjects, which were
Mm-hmm.
related to all these domains: finance, marketing, management. So all these HR as well.
Right.
So I decided that I'd prefer UK and Europe region over USA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I started my journey in researching about various universities in UK and Europe. And yeah, and I made my applications.
So what made you choose UCL? Like which other universities did you apply to, and from where did you hear back and things like that?
Okay, so for me, I applied to all the top universities. To name a few, I applied to Imperial, I applied to UCL, Cranfield, Edinburgh, University of Manchester, London Business School, and in Europe, there's one university called Rotterdam School of Management.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied to all these universities, and I got the offer letters from Imperial, UCL, and Rotterdam.
Mm-hmm.
And these were the basically three main universities that I really wanted to go into.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, even though I wanted to go into LBS, London Business School, I didn't really get an offer from there. But again, like my top three choices were UCL, Imperial, and Rotterdam School of Management.
Right. So what made you choose UCL over Imperial or Rotterdam?
So, for me, of course, Rotterdam is one of the top institutes in the world for masters in management. But there were language barriers. So, in Netherlands, I felt that I might face a lot of language barriers due to Dutch being spoken there.
Mm-hmm.
And hence, I decided that okay, if I want to pursue my masters, I'll prefer to go into UK.
Mm-hmm.
And in UK, then I had choices Imperial and UCL. Both had their pros and cons, but
Mm-hmm.
almost both of them were at the same level, right?
Right.
So, like in the rankings, in the world university rankings as well, both UCL and Imperial are at the same level. They are
Mm-hmm.
in the top 10 universities in the world. So for me, I thought that if I let's say go to UCL, then I might be better off because I'll be located in the Canary Wharf campus, and Canary Wharf being the financial hub of London.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get a lot of networking opportunities, and that's
Right.
what I felt that this is the plus point that I might have going to UCL,
Mm-hmm.
and hence I came to UCL.
So, when you see university rankings like Imperial and UCL rank really high compared to some other things you mentioned like Cranfield. So, what do you think is the difference that you got into Imperial but not Cranfield, maybe?
So, of course, since I started my applications, of course, I was aiming for the top institutes only.
Mm-hmm.
And Cranfield, of course, these universities are also very good. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they rank in top 100 in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But Cranfield, for me, university rankings mattered a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
the better the rankings, the more interest I had towards pursuing a degree from these universities.
Right.
Hence, I chose Imperial UCL over, let's say, Cranfield, Cardiff, and other universities.
Okay. So for everybody who is also interested in management courses, I've seen because after I conducted a lot of interviews for LBS especially, people need at least like 8 to 9 years of experience. So for somebody who is a fresher, which is kind of, even though they say on the website is only a couple of years of experience, but overall the general average is like mostly 8 or 9 years of experience. So that is all fine.
Hmm.
So can you tell me, like, okay, now you applied to UCL and Imperial. What were the key differences that you had in your application process? Do you need GMAT or GRE to get into these universities?
Yes. So during the time I gave the applications, I submitted my applications. It was the COVID period.
Mm-hmm.
So the GMAT was waived off at many universities, but Imperial LBS did require GMAT rankings,
Mm-hmm.
GMAT scores,
Mm-hmm.
and UCL, even though it was not requiring as a mandatory part of the application, but it was optional. If you have given the GRE or GMAT, you were allowed to upload your score.
Okay.
So since I gave the GMAT, I decided that I'll upload my score in UCL as well.
Okay. And in terms of your application process, did you apply on your own or did you apply through an agency or something like that?
No, I applied on my own to
Mm-hmm.
all the universities. I didn't really take any advice from any agents. In terms of application process, there was not really much difference. In terms of like it was not really complex. It was quite straightforward, and hence I didn't really take any advice or any help from anyone. I did
Mm-hmm.
it all by myself. And the thing is that everyone should keep in mind while they are applying for various universities is that once they are writing their SOPs, it should cater to that particular university. You should go through their website and get to know about what the culture of that university is, what they are looking forward in the students, and then
Mm-hmm.
accordingly you make adjustments in your SOP and then apply to a university to make sure that you proceed to the next stages.
Right. Don't
And
make a generic one for everyone.
yeah, so it's not like one size fits all. No, it's
Mm-hmm.
not like that. You need to cater it to different universities. And in terms of application process itself, you submit all your documents. You have a few questions that you answer in the application. So UCL had it, Imperial had it, LBS had it, and Rotterdam also had it. So you kind of write essays. They give you a few questions. You write your essays, and then
Mm-hmm.
you submit. And once they go through your application, your SOP and everything, they come back to you. If you clear that stage, you are invited for an interview, which is a pre-recorded interview. So
Mm-hmm.
you give that interview, they go through your responses, and they come out, they tell you the outcome of your application. And for the interview as well, generally, what I saw was for Imperial and UCL, both of them. I had interviews, and they had 5 to 6 questions at max, and they were very general questions. They give you 2 minutes to prepare, 3 minutes to answer. So it was like that. And Imperial even had some questions where you had to write.
Okay.
So,
In the
so
like live, like you
in
had
the
2 minutes to prepare and then 3 minutes to write.
yeah, and then you write.
Okay.
So this was how the application process was, and overall it was okay. It gives you a chance to think on your own feet. and you
Mm-hmm.
have to be aware of what's going on in the world. How is the uh, let's say financial situation of different countries, how the world is changing, and accordingly you need to answer.
Right. So
So
can you give an example of a question and like how did you respond?
one question that I remember was it was about it was the COVID time. So it was about it's the COVID times and it is impacting the world. So how do you think these COVID situations in different countries might affect? So you had to just in 2 minutes you had to prepare and answer. And even one fun question that I remember was it was at Imperial College London. I got a question that okay, you are meeting a CEO that you admire a lot in an
Mm-hmm.
elevator. So what is the conversation that you will have with him? So they give you 2 minutes to think, 3 minutes to answer. So you kind
What
of
did you answer? Like this is such a like in terms of elevator pitch, it
yes,
totally depends on what the product is and what you're trying to sell. Are you trying to get a job or
exactly.
so what did you write?
It was not about writing, it was more about talking. So I don't really remember it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I talked to the CEO. So for me, it was Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
Not right now, but yeah, that time it was Elon Musk because he was
Right.
doing really good. And I talked to him in general about how the future of electric cars is and how I like his ambitious projects, be it SpaceX or any other
Mm-hmm.
project. So whatever he's doing, I
Mm-hmm.
kind of talked to him about that and how we can improve it further. Let's say for electric cars itself, I talked about let's say if we want to introduce electric cars in India, how can we go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
gave him the plan. So this is something that I talked about. But again, it's just 2 minutes, and during that time you have to think about these things and
So were you prepared
ensure
for
that
these
it's just followed.
questions from before? Like, did you have like a faint idea of what to expect, or like did you like
Mm,
take it on the point, on the spot?
so it was these questions you can't really prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the only questions that you can prepare is that why do you want to study at a particular university? What is it in a particular course that you really like and how it
Mm-hmm.
will help you in the career and all those things. So
Mm-hmm.
these questions are also asked, of course. These were
Mm-hmm.
asked in UCL as well as Imperial.
Right.
So these questions you can prepare, but the questions that they ask apart from these, you
Right.
can't really prepare for them because there are
Mm-hmm.
a lot of possibilities they can ask you anything.
Makes sense. So when it comes to UCL now, because we are talking about UCL, so you submit your application. After that, you have a mandatory interview. If you're shortlisted, and after that, you get your offer. Is that right? Is that the process?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
perfect.
that's the process.
So now let us look at your course much more in detail. Can you just tell me
Mhm.
how many semesters did you have and how many subjects each semester?
Okay, so for us, the subjects were 10 subjects, okay, and one dissertation, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So these were divided into 3 terms. The
Mm-hmm.
first term had 5 subjects, second term had 4 subjects, plus another like a few classes for dissertation, where
Okay.
they taught us about how dissertation should be done, what is the kind of research you should do, and what pointers to keep in mind. And in the third semester, we had the optional module
Mm-hmm.
where you can choose a particular subject of your interest and study that.
Okay.
And in the third module, of course, you also work on your dissertation.
Okay. So let's get about the dissertation more in detail, but let's talk about your first 2 semesters first. Like in terms of lectures, like how many days a week did you have to go to university and how long were the lectures in a day?
Okay, so in terms of going to university, it was a full-time course, and I had to go to the universities 5 days a week. So, of course, Monday to Friday, I was there in the university. And how long were the lectures? The lectures were 3 hour long. So
Mm-hmm.
you get 1.5 hour, then a few minutes of break, and then 1.5 hour again, the lecture.
Mm-hmm.
So apart from that, nothing as such. And of course, you got get a lot of group assignments. You get a lot of individual assignment as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what I used to do is in the morning, let's say if I have a lecture from 9 to 12, I
Mm-hmm.
used to do the lecture, then probably have a lunch for 1 hour, and then go back to UCL itself, go to the campus, and do my remaining projects or assignments with the group.
In terms of your lectures as well, because management being such a practical degree, were there industry professionals who have worked in management who were coming to teach, or were there like the PhD professors who really did not have like that practical experience? How was that like?
So, of course, in terms of teaching, since UCL is one of the top institutes in the
Mm-hmm.
world, the lectures were really good.
Mm-hmm.
The teachers were well qualified and they had a lot of experience teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was good. It was just that I found that maybe a few more industrial lectures would have benefited. So
Mm-hmm.
this is something that was there in my term, like in when I was doing this degree. But probably based on our feedback as well, once we left, we gave this feedback that probably more industrial visits or more industrial experts should have come and gave the lectures.
Makes sense.
So probably they have improved on it right now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not aware of the current situation, but in my experience, I thought overall the teaching was really good, but probably some more industrial expert lectures would have
Mm-hmm.
benefited.
So in terms of teaching as well, like how did they teach you? Were there more of like presentations where the teacher comes and just talks to the class and then you do group assignments, or was there like seminars where you can actually take part? Can you just take me through that, please?
So, in terms of teaching for the modules, for the exam at least,
Mm-hmm.
there were presentations which the teacher used to give, and then we used to do group assignments, we used to collaborate with each other, and also it was kind of very interactive. So
Mm-hmm.
it was not just that you are seeing the presentation, teacher is talking, and you are not doing anything. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of interaction between the classmates as well as the lecturer, the professor,
Right.
and that was a good point.
Mm-hmm.
But again, as I said, more industrial visits or more industrial lectures would have benefited. And apart from that, in terms of seminars, we did have a lot of seminars as well,
Mm-hmm.
which were quite useful in terms of giving us experience about how the industry works. But taking part in these seminars was individual's choice. So
Okay.
you can choose to take part in these seminars or you can choose to opt out of these. So they
Okay.
were not mandatory.
Okay.
So this was the thing. But there were opportunities where the students can attend these seminars.
So in terms of teaching, what is the main difference between a lecture and a seminar?
So teaching, of course, two types, lecture and seminars. And
Mm-hmm.
lectures were more focused on, let's say, classroom based learning, where
Mm-hmm.
they give you assignments, where they give you questions, there are presentations, you are interacting with the professor
Mm-hmm.
and also your classmates. But in terms of seminar, what is there is they of course give you like tell you about different topics, they talk about different topics, and apart from that they give you case study to complete with your students. So it's more on skill based learning
Okay.
when there is a seminar. So they give you to give you the opportunity to explore what you have learned
Mm-hmm.
with your colleagues, and it's not of course scored,
Mm-hmm.
because in lectures what you are doing, you are learning and doing the assignments so that you get these marks, and of course they are added to your grades. But in seminars it was more of a open workshop where you
Mm-hmm.
collaborated.
Mm-hmm.
They give you the knowledge and then you apply it side by side as well.
Correct. So do you recommend students to opt for seminars? Was that very
Yes,
beneficial?
of course. Of course, I would say like it's a great opportunity to for the students to learn, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes what happens is if there's an industrial expert taking the seminar and if you perform really well,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they take you or they give you the opportunity to intern with them in that
Oh.
company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you build your network as well. And of course, if there's an industrial expert and you talk to them, you get to know more about how a particular knowledge or a skill set is being applied in the practical world.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
of course, this is a very good thing for the students who are trying to build upon their skills. So, it's a must go.
Okay. So, in terms of your assignments, did you have more of individual assignments, group assignments, live consultancy? How was that like?
So it was more of mix between individual and group assignments,
Okay.
but not the life consultancy. Life consultancy was there in the dissertation
Project.
part. So some people opted for their individual dissertation, and some people took the life consultancy project.
Okay. So, out of all the subjects you studied, can you just name any one subject and tell how your assignment was like? Like, what was expected from you, a bit about plagiarism as well, and things like that.
Mhm. So, before I talk about the assignment and a particular course, I like to emphasize more on plagiarism. So, of course, plagiarism is something that is not very popular in India, or no one takes into account plagiarism or anything like that. But here in UK, at least, I've seen that they're very strict with the plagiarism. So every assignment that you do, that a student submits, they have different softwares which check the plagiarism of the assignment. And if a plagiarism is, let's say, above a particular level,
Mm-hmm.
then they will fail you. And if this repeats quite sometimes, then they might even end up kicking you out of the university. So everyone should be aware that, of course, UK universities and any universities abroad, they are very strict with the plagiarism, and
Right.
they will not give you any second chances or hear to you if the plagiarism is really high. So once you are here in UK or USA or any other study abroad destination, just make sure that you are well aware of the plagiarism rules, and
Mm-hmm.
also the different referencing styles that are used for referencing while you are uh, putting in efforts with your assignments or
Right.
writing your assignments.
Mm-hmm.
So now, with regards to a particular subject that I really liked, and its assignment was the strategic project management. So this was the project that I chose in the third term as my optional module.
Okay.
And in this particular subject, what I liked was, firstly, it was all about project management, and I really like project management in general. So it taught me really a lot of things which are involved while managing a particular project. Maybe it's IT or maybe in a different sector. So
Mm-hmm.
it gave me a lot of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And second thing is the assignments itself. So in this particular subject, there was individual assignment as well as a group assignment. Both of these were going side by side.
Okay.
And so what happened was, basically, there were 10 lectures, okay, throughout the term, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and each lecture taught you something about project management, and this knowledge of that particular lecture was to be applied to the course assignment, both group assignment and the individual assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they gave us a case study of a particular company which was trying to decide which of the six projects that they had in mind they wanted to execute. Okay,
Okay.
so in the group project, our assignment was that you, in a group, you discuss amongst these six projects, which one should the company go for,
Mm-hmm.
what are the benefits and disbenefits of the particular project. So you discuss in detail about all six, and then based on your conclusion, the conclusion of the group, you suggest that, okay, the company should go for these two projects, these three projects, or these four projects.
So this was a return project as well.
This was a written project, and of course, you had to make a lot of links between different projects that the company was deciding in order to make sure that everything is synergetic.
Okay.
Okay, and for the individual assignment, so what we did was, in the group project, we decided that we'll go for three projects, and the
Mm-hmm.
company should go for three projects, which we are suggesting. So,
Okay.
as a part of project, the individual assignment, I had to choose one of these three projects that
Mm-hmm.
I decided as a part of group, and take the ownership of that project, and do the whole project timeline, do the whole let's say resource management and responsibility management and all these things. So I was basically handling the whole project from the planning phase till execution. Um, so this was the whole individual project.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
it gives a
considering,
in-depth knowledge about what I learned. I
Mhm.
applied it as well practically.
So considering UCL is a Russell Group university and focus on research is very high. So in
Mhm.
terms of management, like in project timelines and things like that, did you have the freedom to create your own timelines, or were they supposed to be based on some research you have found on Google Scholar that maybe a 5 week timeline is a good timeline? For example, some person has said that. So how much in relation was it to the research?
So, of course, you were allowed to create your own timelines as well,
Mm-hmm.
but it is always advised that, okay, if someone is already doing a particular project or has already done it, you research on that, you come up with the optimal timeline, and then you accordingly give the all the tasks and all the timelines of
Mm-hmm.
the project.
So in for not for this subject but other subjects as well, how important was it to use Google Scholar and your like research compared to the practicality of the subject?
So, of course, it's always advised that if you include something that is already been researched, it always gives you an advantage
Mm-hmm.
because it makes your assignment more credible, or
Mm-hmm.
let's say more robust, right? So that's why, like, of course, you can experiment, you can write anything you want. It should not be plagiarized, but if you include some sources that are really credible and reference them, then it gives you more, let's say, marks or better grades.
Mm-hmm. So how hard would you say is for somebody who has maybe, like you said, you have subjects like maybe, for example, you might be having finance, operations, and things like that. So for somebody who does not come from a finance background, who comes from maybe a marketing or who wants to get into HR, for example, how hard is it for them to cope up with all of these subjects?
It's not that difficult for me as well. Like, I came from a technical background and I didn't have a vast knowledge in managerial domain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me as well, everything was taught like very well.
Mm-hmm.
And also UCL, what it does is for someone who has already worked in these managerial sectors or finance or something, they have a separate pathway. And for someone who is transitioning from any other subject or a degree, they have a separate pathway. So I was in the corporate pathway because I am coming from a technical background, switching into the managerial background, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me as well, like in my class, I had people who had done, let's say, politics or English literature or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, of course, you discuss a lot with these people, you get to know about their perspective, and accordingly you learn. And also, teachers or the professors are also well aware that, okay, these students, they are coming from different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
They are not well versed in, let's say, managerial domain. So they teach you accordingly and help you or make you comfortable accordingly
Mm-hmm.
with the particular subject. So they start from the base itself. When
Mm-hmm.
they start building your base, and then once the base is built, they build upon that.
Right. So for somebody who is not good at math, for example, like is it hard to like do the financial subjects, or is it like that is also taught from the
No.
very beginning?
No, no, it's not really hard. They always help you, and also your classmates, they'll always be helping you. They are very helpful. So for me, also like I had few friends who were not very well in maths, and I coming from engineering degree, I was very good at stats and everything. So I helped them, and it was quite comfortable for them as well.
Right. So just to understand, like UCL is such a high, like like a high ranked university. So do you think like getting into UCL, like of course the top of the top get into like this university. So in your class, did you feel that kind of caliber, or did you find like okay, people like like not like anybody can get in, but like did you feel that level of caliber in conversations and assignments and things like that?
Yes, it was, of course, there. So everyone that I interacted with was very much aware of what they are doing, and they were like, of course, I was in corporate pathway, so everyone was coming from different fields. But
Mm-hmm.
from whatever fields they were coming from, they were very well, let's say, skilled and very knowledgeable in that particular field.
Okay.
So everyone was very good.
So, would you say studying at UCL is hard, difficult? Was it a difficult year for you to navigate through everything, or is it fairly manageable?
Uh, For me, I think you need to put in a lot of efforts, of course, if you
Mm-hmm.
are in UCL or any of the top universities, let's say Imperial or King's or any other like that. So you need to, of course, put a lot of efforts. It doesn't come that easy. So
Mm-hmm.
there'll be a lot of assignments. You'll always have to keep studying. You'll always have to keep discussing with your professors and your classmates about what is happening or what is the current situation in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and also learn from them as well in terms of, let's say, theoretical knowledge or practical knowledge. So you always have to keep a lot of efforts. But again, I think like this applies for any university. If you are doing a particular course, you have come outside India or
Right.
your home country, you need to put in a lot of efforts to adjust into that country as well as to succeed in what you have come for.
Mm-hmm.
So success doesn't come easy. So you have to, of course, put in a lot of efforts.
So somebody I know who was studying at UCL, they had some before even the lectures started, they had some uni course material and a lot of studying to do. Though, can you tell a bit about that?
Yes, so before we came into UCL, we had a few sessions from the professors where they told us that, okay, you are coming to UCL, we'll be starting these courses, we'll be teaching you these courses. But before you come, yeah, they advised us that, okay, these are some books that you can refer to in
Mm-hmm.
order to better understand or let's say more better grasp what they will be teaching at UCL.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave in a lot of books for us to read. Okay,
Okay.
there were around 15 to 20 books that they gave. And these books, of course, it was your choice
Mm-hmm.
that you read
It
it
was
or
not
not. It was
compulsory.
not mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, if you read it, it it will help you grasp the things better, because once they are teaching in the lectures,
Mm-hmm.
they will go fast at times in order to complete a particular topic.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are, let's say, blank about a particular topic or you have no knowledge whatsoever, so in just to prevent that you don't struggle or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, they advise that you study these books.
Mm-hmm. So in your pathway, how many students were there in your class?
200. There
200.
were 200 which were divided into two batches.
Mm-hmm.
So 80 to 100 students in each batch.
So every lecture, you only had those 100 people who attended the lecture together?
Yes, so for lectures as well, it was a mix. Of course, there were two batches, but they used to mix. So in term one, we had batch one, which had certain students. In term two, these students were again mixed. So there were two batches all over, like throughout the year. But again, the students used to shuffle
So with
on
100
first.
students in class, how interactive was it in the first place? Like teachers, like how do you even put out your thoughts when there are so many people learning and having their own kind of processes?
So, of course, it depends on a student itself. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there will be a lot of students who will speak a lot, and there'll
Mm-hmm.
be a lot of students who will just grasp the knowledge and try to understand everything.
Perfect.
So it's a individual thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like they'll be always talking. It's not like that. There'll be moments when everyone is just listening to the professor, but
Mm-hmm.
professor also tries to engage with these students who are, let's say, quiet, or also with students who are speaking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a student is speaking a lot, then they are getting more knowledge. The other students are benefiting.
Correct.
So the professors played a major role in these engagements,
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite interactive, the whole session.
Mm-hmm.
All the lectures were quite interactive, and we used to get to know a lot, grasp a lot of knowledge from each other.
Right. So in terms of your classmates, what is the average age group and what is the male-female ratio?
So in terms of our cohort, of course, I don't know the exact numbers, but age group was around 25 to 30,
Mm-hmm.
and the male female ratio, it was more or less very similar. It
Okay.
was not like there are more males or there are more females. It was balanced.
So when you say the average age group is more or less 25, so like most people came with a bit of experience, like or most of them like just fresh out of college. Because if it's that, mostly 21 would be 21, 22 is like the main age group. So how was that like?
Yes, so some students did have experience, and some students came out just from the bachelor's.
Mm-hmm.
So it was again very much like a good mix, I'd say. So
Mm-hmm.
some students did have experience and some didn't have any experience at all.
Right.
So again, like the age range, as I said, it varied between 25 to 30. It was
Mm-hmm.
not like it was 25-25, it was 25 to 30.
Okay. And what is like if you had to name like one key difference between management, MSc Management and a MBA, what would that be?
So MSc Management, I'd say, of course, it covers everything. All the subjects are quite similar to MBA,
Mm-hmm.
but MSc Management is for someone who wants basic knowledge first and who has less experience. Okay,
Okay.
so if you have 1 or 2 years of experience or even 0 years of experience, then you can opt for MSc Management.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, for someone who has 7 to 10 years of experience and is starting its own firm and just wants to interact and network with a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
and get to know more of, let's say, practical knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
then a MBA is more preferred. So in UK itself, MSc Management, as I said, it's for someone who is having less experience, and MBA is for someone who has at least 5 years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say even if I'm applying for MBA right now, I might not be able to get the MBA in UK because it requires minimum 5 years of experience. And
Okay.
the age group is, of course, the adult students.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. So if you had to name one key thing you found a main difference between teaching in India and teaching in UK, what would that be? Or UK
Teaching
or
in
teaching in UCL?
Okay, teaching in India was more of theoretical knowledge that was given, and less emphasis was on practical exposure.
Mm-hmm.
But in UK, even though theoretical knowledge is given, but they emphasize more on the practical experience or the
Mm-hmm.
practical knowledge. So your assignments will be such that you need to learn the theoretical knowledge and apply it,
Mm-hmm.
and accordingly, they'll judge your assignments.
Okay.
So more emphasis is towards the practical experience than the theoretical
Got it.
knowledge provided.
So UCL being one of the top universities, like what do you think makes it stand out? What do you love about university?
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
I love almost everything about it. And there are, of course, a lot of things that can be improved, but the faculty was great. The facilities were great. We had, um, in the main campus, we had the overnight library where you can just stay and study. And of course, there's a good support from the other staff as well. So in case you need a career support or anything like that, there's
Mm-hmm.
good from them as well. You can have regular sessions with them. They'll
Mm-hmm.
help you with the career development things. So for me personally, I came from India, and in India we have the culture of where the companies come to the universities and hire the students. But
Correct.
here in UK, it's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
No companies comes to the campus. There's no on-campus hiring. You need to approach the company in order to get hired, and you need to apply yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came here, I didn't really know the process, how what the companies are looking forward to, what are the exact things that I need to do in the application in order to stand out. So
Mm-hmm.
the career department, of course, gave me a lot of support, told me a lot of things, helped me with the interviews, helped me with the writing of the CVs. And
Mm-hmm.
CV, of course, CV in India, it's quite different from what is required here in UK.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of support from the career departments as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I really liked about UCL. Like the overall support and the facilities that they provide to the students is very
And
good.
what about some things you would say you could improve on?
So some things, as I mentioned earlier in this interview, that may be more of industrial expert lectures. That is something that was missing in my year, particularly.
Mm-hmm.
Probably they have more of industrial visits or something like that now.
Mm-hmm.
But for my in my experience, this was something that was missing. So
Okay.
maybe if I had that exposure, it would have been much better. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, the experience that I had was
Great.
very good.
So do you think university rankings do matter? And while applying for jobs, did you think being from UCL you had an advantage over some others?
Yes, yes, I'd say being from a top university does help you a lot. Okay, but once you progress in the stages further, It all depends on your skill set.
Mm-hmm.
So my suggestion to you will be that if you are from a top university, you should not just let everything go. You should not take everything easy. You
Mm-hmm.
should try to build upon your skill set,
Right.
because that's what the company will be hiring. And of course, as an international student, uh, the companies need to sponsor you. So
Mm-hmm.
they need to see something in you in order to be able to sponsor you. And you need to even stand out from the British citizens or the Europeans who have settled or pre-settled status. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where your difficulty is. And that's why I'd recommend everyone, wherever you are studying, try to build upon your skill set, and try to learn something new every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of your career counselors as well, like the career cell at UCL, you mentioned they help you with your CV and interviews like that. But did they have any like workshops, or did they have any career fairs so that you can interact with people? Like, how was that like?
Yes, so we did have career fairs, but
Mm-hmm.
of course, these career fairs were there in the main campus.
Okay.
They were not specifically catering to School of Management, UCL School of Management, and not specifically to our degrees. So they had a lot of regular career fairs in the UCL main campus, where everyone, like all the students from all the departments, were invited. So
Okay.
they did have career fairs, but not specifically just for UCL School of Management.
So where is the main campus again?
It's in Bloomsbury. It's in
Okay.
central London.
So all the campuses are placed in London, just that every department
Yes.
has their own. Okay,
Yes.
interesting. Um, so in terms of like extracurricular at your university, did you join any clubs and societies? Is it manageable with a master's degree? Um,
Yes. So for me, I thought that I would join,
mhm,
but as I said, it becomes very hectic once you
mhm.
are doing 5-day classes at the universities, and also looking at your, let's say, assignments, the group assignments, individual assignments, and everything. It becomes really hectic. So we didn't really get a lot of time
Mhm,
in order to do these activities.
mhm.
But of course, if someone is doing a bachelor's degree, which has 3 years tenure, then maybe they can join these degrees, because master's is 1 year degree and you just learn. You
Correct.
try to keep building your skills. So we didn't really have a lot of time to participate in extracurricular activities or clubs or anything like that.
Okay. So now talking about a bit about your finances and living in London and things like that. Like, do you recommend like staying on campus or off campus? How is it in London? Like, of course, there is no on campus thing usually in London, but like,
Mhm.
can you explain the housing situation in general?
So in London, of course, accommodation is quite expensive due to the rising cost of living. So, of course, there are two choices you have. You can either opt for a UCL accommodation, or you can have a private accommodation, or even you can rent a particular apartment or a flat, right? So,
Right.
for me, what I did was I didn't opt for UCL accommodation because it was costing a lot, and it was like quite expensive. Even though it was close to the main campus, my campus was in Canary Wharf. So
Mm-hmm.
firstly, I'll have to travel from central London to Canary Wharf every day,
Mm-hmm.
and it will add to my expenses. That's
Correct.
why what for me, location was my preference. So what I did was I looked for student accommodations in and around Canary Wharf, and
Mm-hmm.
I found some student accommodation through Amber Students, and it was quite near Canary Wharf, so it was walkable distance as well. So
So did you
I
sort your accommodation before you came to the UK, or did you come here and then figure out?
so I sorted my accommodations before I came into UK.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
So
what do you think is like the average cost of accommodations in London?
so for me, when I was a student, when I was looking for accommodations, it costed me around 620 per month,
Mm-hmm.
which was quite cheap, the cheapest I could found.
Yeah.
And currently, if you look, the accommodations cost is quite high, so you can expect the accommodation cost to start from 900. But of course, there are quite a lot of cheap accommodations available as well. So for anyone who is trying to come to UK and looking for accommodations, they can of course look at Amber Students. Their website is quite good, and they have a lot of options for the students,
Mm-hmm.
which are within like reasonable range.
Correct. So maybe applying and figuring your accommodation earlier is much better because then you
Yes.
have like more options like that. So
Yes.
let's talk a bit about your part-time job. Was it easy to find a part-time job, easy to manage? Did you do a part-time job? Can you tell a bit about that?
Yes, I did part-time job, and I did it at Domino's.
Mm-hmm.
So I started as a in-store employee colleague,
Mm-hmm.
and then I slowly progressed to become a manager.
Okay.
So, of course, this was my first job, and first job in UK as well. So
Mm-hmm.
finding it was quite difficult because even if you are applying for part-time jobs, they have the whole interview process. It's
Correct.
not like since it's a part-time, so it's very easy to get. You
Mm-hmm.
need to go through the whole process with the manager, with the HR recruiter, and then you get the job.
Okay.
So I did get the job, and I worked there for 1 year. So probably from January 2022, I started working there
Mm-hmm.
till December 2022.
So
So
even
it
getting to the job Domino's, how did you get it? Like, did you go in person and give your CV or was it through an online?
yes, yes. So you apply online first, okay, and if there are any positions available, and the let's say the manager or the recruiter finds your resume quite useful, then they approach you and they call you in for a personal interview. But again, like you will again have to go through the whole process itself. It's not like you just refer and you just get in.
Correct. So for somebody who, because we are from 2021 batch where PSW was kind of new for us, so even the job market was comparatively easy than it is today. So
Mhm.
now if you see jobs like Domino's or Subway, it's already full, like it's almost impossible to get a job. So if somebody wants to get into a job like that, what would you recommend is the best strategy to do so?
So of course, so there are quite a few factors that play a key role in this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so for me, what I would suggest is for anyone who is coming to London, particularly, and is looking for part-time jobs, it's much easier or much better to apply from the start, from the beginning. So let's say you start from September, UK, come into UK, you start applying for part-time jobs from that time itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is London has a lot of colleges,
Yeah.
and since there are a lot of colleges, there are a lot of students,
Mm-hmm.
and since there are a lot of students, there's a lot of competition. So if you don't start applying early, then there are less chances that you would, let's say, get a job in the near future. So
Correct.
what students generally have a mindset is that, okay, we'll go there, we'll, let's say, try to settle in for the first 4 to 5 months, and probably after our second semester,
Yeah.
maybe in February or March, we'll start looking for part-time opportunities and we'll get it. But
Mm-hmm.
what will happen is, till that time, all the part-time opportunities will be finished
Correct.
because everyone has already like hired and the recruitment process is over. So
Correct.
then you'd be ended up with no part-time jobs during that time. So if anyone is like particularly interested in earning while they are studying,
Mm-hmm.
so it's very well recommended that you start applying early from, let's say, from the time you come in.
So do you think it's easy to manage a part-time job in your university?
It is not. To be honest, it is not. It takes in a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that you just go there and get some money and then come back. You have to put in a lot of effort there as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't perform well at part-time job as well, they will as well just kick you out and hire someone.
Correct.
Because that is also a business that wants to grow.
Correct.
So a lot of things are at stake. So for me as well, what I used to do is I used to do part-time at Domino's and
Mm-hmm.
also study at UCL. So I had 5 days classes, as I already mentioned, and also I used to do side-by-side part-time, which is 20 hours in a week.
Correct.
So in the initial period, it was quite difficult for me, I'd say. Um, like, because of course you are trying to get used to the uh, uh, study culture and the whole, let's say, UK
Correct.
culture, I'd say. You
Mm-hmm.
are not well aware of let's say transport or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So while you are in that transition period, you also start a part-time.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes really difficult to manage everything all at once,
Mm-hmm.
because academics is different, part-time is different.
100%.
So that's why. Mhm.
So after you graduated, like, did you, like, of course you have a job now, I'm aware, but why didn't you choose like graduate schemes and why did you choose to go for a direct job?
Yes, for graduate schemes, it's a good opportunity for all the students. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, what I wanted is I always wanted to work in a startup,
Mm-hmm.
because even though if I join a graduate scheme, I'll be particularly learning, like gaining the skill set from a particular role. It won't be
Mm-hmm.
like I'm doing diverse range of jobs. So
Correct.
let's say if I join something in operations, I'll be just doing the operations.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, currently working at a startup, I'm doing a lot of things. So I handle international operations. I handle, let's say, finances sometimes. I look into project management. I look into strategy and business development. I look into recruitment as well. So it's quite a lot of learning for me in this particular role. So that's why, like, I always like from the initial stage itself when I started applying, I always wanted to get into startup rather than going into a graduate scheme. But
So how
of
did
course.
you, sorry,
Mhm.
sorry, go ahead.
But of course, for students who are coming to UK, I'd suggest do apply for graduate schemes as well, because getting into startups is also not easy. They'll
Mm-hmm.
also have their own recruitment process. So have both the sides open for you, both
Mm-hmm.
the options open for you.
Right.
And whatever, then like as soon as you start receiving offers, then you can particularly choose, okay, you
Choose
want to
what
do
you want.
this. Yes.
So how did you get your current job? How was your application process for that? How was your interview rounds?
So LinkedIn, I applied through LinkedIn, and the process was quite simple. It was the LinkedIn application, and apart from that, it was the interviews. And interview stage as well, I had a presentation and the normal behavioral questions that you get. So it was for 1.5 hours or something. And after that, I got the job offer. So it was quite simple for me, but again, it depends from firm to firm. Not every process will be this simple. Some
Mm-hmm.
firms will go through, let's say, three recruitment stages. One will be presentation, one will be your telephonic interview, one will be your final interview, or something like that. It can be a mix. So you need to be prepared for everything. So
Right.
for me, like while I was applying for jobs, I was preparing for case interviews, I was preparing for behavioral questions, I was constantly looking at my uh, the CV. I was
Mm-hmm.
constantly updating it, and also the cover letter. Cover letter is very important in UK. So
Right.
it's not a thing in India, but here in UK, it's very important. So if you have cover letter, it's regarded as a positive sign.
Mm-hmm. So for somebody who wants to come to the UK now and study management or things like, do you think with this current job scenario and like the recession and everything, is it a good idea to come to the UK now or not?
Yes, of course. It's a good idea, I'd say. Of course, there's a risk. Okay. There's risk involved everywhere. Okay. The current situation, I do agree, it's not very favorable in terms of international students coming to UK.
Mm-hmm.
But again, in terms of job employment or future prospects, once you complete your degree, everything that matters is your skill set.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the right skill set and you are putting in the efforts, the companies or the organizations will notice it and you will get hired.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say if you are just here to study and you are not putting in efforts to develop your skill set, then of course it becomes very difficult. And the more time passes, it becomes even more difficult. So
Correct.
my advice to you, to any student, would be once you come to UK, just focus on building yourself, building your skill set, and constantly apply to any opportunity that you see on LinkedIn or any organization's website.
So just to conclude, if I have to ask you, what is the one best piece of advice you will give students who are planning to come to UCL or in the UK? What would that be?
So, the best piece of advice I could give is, once you come here, I have already emphasized it a lot, but try to focus on building yourself, building your skill set,
Mm-hmm.
and put in as much efforts as you can,
Mm-hmm.
because you have invested a lot of money coming here. You are here in UK studying, so now you want returns on investment. You want a job. You want to have a good career.
Mhm.
So for having that, you need to put in a lot of efforts. You need to build your CV, you need to build your skill set, you need to be out there, you need to network with a lot of people and a lot of students.
Mhm.
Even your cohort, there'll be many students from different countries. So try talking to each one of them, try to learn from each one something from each one of them, try to learn from about their culture, try to learn about their language. So interacting and building a network is what comes in handy. And of course, once you are applying for jobs, this network and the knowledge you have gained from your colleagues or cohort, that will come in handy, because you would have built your skill set through your efforts. But again, having that extra knowledge or a broader perspective or broader knowledge would really help you successfully land a job and build your career.
Perfect. I think thank you so much, Sudhanshu, for coming on my channel and sharing all of these insights. I think even myself know so much more about UCL and studying here. I think somebody who wants to study, because UCL management is one of the most attractive degrees which everybody has, their dream university. Like, so this interview, I hopefully it helps them out. If anybody has any questions, do you mind if I link your LinkedIn in the description box below? If
Yeah,
some.
sure. If anyone has any questions, they can of course reach out to me on my LinkedIn, and I'll be very happy to answer and help them.
Okay, thank you so much, Sudhanshu, for your time. Um,
Thank you, Devyani.
yeah, thank you.